How's it going, guys? Today is the second video on the science of vegan diets. If you've missed the first part, make sure to check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. But it was mostly about performance, muscle, and protein. Now this one, however, we're gonna talk about health. Is a vegan diet good for you? Is it bad for you? Does it really matter at all? That's the question we need to answer. And as always, if you learned something from this video, make sure to give it a like, because that really helps. Also, share the video with someone so they can learn something too. And if you want to see more science videos on nutrition and training, make sure to subscribe. That said, let's dive into it. First, I want to make one thing clear. Anyone who has read about veganism and health should be aware by now that vegan diets are likely to be deficient in protein, vitamin B12, vitamin D, omega-3s, iron, and other things. But I'm not going to get into that. I'll assume you've done your research, and if you want to go vegan, you'll take that into account. What I want to focus on is obesity and also chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, heart conditions, things like that. There are way too many studies I could cite. It's hard to choose one without being called out for cherry picking. So I'm going to cite two articles that have a lot of different studies within them. The first one is by far my favorite. It was a conjoint effort by researchers from University of Copenhagen in Denmark, University of Alabama, and the Pennington Biomedical Research Center. It's pretty new, September 2019, and it looks into the effects of plant-based diets on obesity and chronic disease risk. And after looking at the evidence, the result was pretty similar for both obesity and chronic disease, with one main reoccurring theme. On obesity, they conclude, in these analyses, vegetarians and vegans had lower body weights than omnivores. These studies, however, are subject to both residual confounding and risk-inverse causality. And on other health outcomes, it says, the findings support the evidence on the health benefits of more plant-based diets. Recognizing the limitations of observational studies with regard to potential imprecise dietary intake quantification, substitution effects, collinearity among dietary components, and residual confounding. Now, many of you are probably looking at me like, what the f*** did you just say? And I'll break it down, but this is where I shoot myself right in the foot. Bear in mind, this is coming from someone that claims to coach nutrition from an evidence-based perspective. And the truth is, most nutritional research is garbage. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Like the video, and I'm just joking. Before you get mad, let me explain what I mean. A big proportion of it is what's called observational studies. That is when you just gather two groups and you compare them to see any differences without any interventions. And although that can definitely give us some insights, there are inherent limitations with those, like confounding variables and inverse causality. So a great analogy is, when summer comes, sun is out, it's hot outside, people start to buy more ice cream. So you can observe that and say, look, the more people buy ice cream, the more they get sunburned. So it seems to be the case that the ice cream is causing sunburns. That's what a confounding variable is. Although the observation is true, the conclusion is not. Hot weather causes people to be outside, or go to parks, or go to the beach. Being out under the sun for hours, that's what's causing the sunburn. The fact that they happen to be buying more ice cream at the same time is basically irrelevant. An inverse causality will be observing that same thing and saying, maybe buying ice cream makes the weather hot. And although that's a valid observation, in fact, we know it's the other way around, and it's the hot weather making people buy ice cream. Now, bringing the analogy to our subject, if we divide people in groups of vegans and non-vegans, we can observe multiple differences. And yes, vegan groups tend to have better health markers. However, it's hard to say if that's because of the lack of animal products in itself, because it could very well be the case that if you just care about your health more and you take care of yourself, you're more likely to try being vegan because you think that's gonna help you, for example. Also, we know that vegans tend to make healthier choices, so they might drink less, smoke less, and they obviously eat more vegetables and consume less junk food. That's saying we shouldn't jump to conclusions. One thing is to say vegans are healthier, another thing is to say vegans are healthier because they're vegans, and those are not the same thing. And people will say that there are many control trials that have been performed, and I'm glad you brought it up because that's what I'm all about. This is where I bring in the second article that is on healthline.com, presenting 16 randomized control studies to evaluate how a vegan diet can affect your health. I'm of course not going to go through all 16 of them, but there's 3 that I want to point out, mostly to show how important it is to actually read the full study instead of just looking at the headline. So if you look at the result from study number 3, it reads, participants who followed the vegan diet for 18 weeks lost an average of 9.5 pounds, that's 4.3 kilos, compared with 0.2 pounds or 0.1 kilos in the control group. Total and bad cholesterol dropped by 8 milligrams per deciliter in the vegan group compared to almost no change in the control group. Immediate reaction is, geez, I think I'm going vegan. But then you look at the study design and it tells you a little bit of a different story. It says participants in the vegan group received weekly support group classes led by a dietitian. They took B12 supplements and were encouraged to favor low glycemic index foods, aka less sugary foods. Meanwhile, participants in the control group made no changes and had no support.
What?
I guess you can see where I'm getting at with this. It's basically comparing, just eat whatever you want, with having a professional dietitian giving you personalized advice on how to eat a nice and balanced diet. And there is something we can get out of this study, but I'll get to it later. But moving on to study number 4, which is already much better. We have two groups, one following a low-fat vegan diet and another one following a low-fat controlled diet. Both groups could eat as much as they wanted, and this time both groups attended weekly nutritional support for advice on how to prepare their meals. For the results this time, vegan group lost an average of 12.8 pounds or 5.8 kilograms compared to 8.4 pounds or 3.8 kilograms in those on the control diet. And for the blood markers measured, there was no significant differences between the groups. Okay, so it's still a significant difference in favor of vegans, but this time it was a lot smaller. And that brings me to the last study, which concludes the trend. This is by far my favorite of all, study number 13. On this one, no control group. Instead, each person served as their own control. So they either followed a vegan diet for 14 days, then a non-vegan diet for 14 days, or they did the same thing but just the other way around. Apart from that, they weren't just told what to eat, but the researchers actually provided every single meal to them so that they knew exactly what and how much they were eating. That means they were able to precisely equate calories, proteins, carbs, fats. The only difference between the two diets was the source of the protein, animal versus plant-based. Anyways, both meat and vegan diets show the same fullness and motivation to eat. Now for the difference on weight loss this time, drum rolls please. There was no difference. I mean, same protein, same calories, same carbs, same fat, same everything. Of course there was no difference. What did you expect? Now cool, let's move on to health markers. The trend followed. Everything was pretty much the same. But for, here we go, cholesterol.
Here we go again.
Both groups showed a great improvement in blood cholesterol levels. However, the meat group dropped cholesterol by 19%, while the vegan group dropped by 26%. Well, hold on a second. First, that 7% in practice is not gonna make a big difference anyways. Second, researchers, as I said, did a great job. But, and I'm not trying to give them a hard time at all. However, if you eat some cholesterol for the first few hours after the meal, you're gonna have more cholesterol in your blood because you just ate it. And guess what? Meat has more cholesterol than soy. And when did the researchers measure blood cholesterol? Drum rolls again. The first 5 hours after the meal. That's enough to explain why we see any difference at all. Now to quote again from the first article, and that's my favorite sentence of the whole thing. It says, there is little evidence to support that severe restriction of animal foods will contribute to reduced prevalence of obesity beyond what can be achieved with an increased intake of dietary fiber from vegetables and whole grain foods. And this summarizes perfectly my opinion on the topic. That gets to the second point I want to make, which is that people seem to forget to define what veganism is. A vegan diet is a diet absent of animal products. And that's it. That's the only difference between a vegan and a non-vegan diet, the animal products. So saying a vegan diet is healthier is basically saying the animal products specifically make you less healthy. And that's my problem with it, because that's so deceiving. You can't compare a salad with burger and fries. Since if you're not vegan, you can have the exact same salad. And let's say you just add a small chicken breast to it. Did it suddenly stop being healthy? The answer is no, of course. By the same standard, you can also have a vegan person eating a vegan burger with large fries covered in ketchup and garlic sauce, and that's still a vegan meal. And you tell me which one seems healthier now. All I'm trying to say is vegan does not equal healthy. There's good vegan options, there's bad vegan options, as well there's good non-vegan options and bad ones. Now that being said, let's give it some credit, because to summarize all of this, most people won't easily comprehend and follow a well-balanced diet. And it's very easy to tell people just go vegan. And most of the time by default, people will eat more vegetables, fruits, whole grain foods, and other things that promote a healthier lifestyle. By that logic, yes, going vegan will make you healthier, for sure. But I think it's crucial to understand that these benefits can also be achieved by eating a nice and healthy diet that contains the same fruits, vegetables, whole foods, but that apart from that include some lean meats, eggs, milk, and other animal products. And to finish this off, I want to mention something that's an advice for everyone. When it comes to optimizing your health through nutrition, by far the number one thing you can do is just maintain a healthy body weight. Unless you're following a specific nutritional recommendation for a specific condition, it's been shown with meta-analyses that at least 95% of benefits from dieting can be explained by just the weight loss. So when you compare multiple different diets, there doesn't seem to be much benefit, if any, to one over the other. The problem always seems to come back to one thing, and that is the lack of adherence. That means to optimize health for otherwise healthy individuals, the best diet is just whatever diet you can actually stick to in the long term. Be it vegan, carnivore, low fat, low carb, high protein, seafood, whatever it is. You can even try a different one every couple of months. It really doesn't matter. As long as you keep the extra weight off and you stay active, you are on the right track. That said, I appreciate you staying to the end. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Guys, if you found this helpful, please like the video, click the subscribe button and the bell icon thing so you get notified every time I post a video. I swear to God that helps a lot, mostly now that I'm starting, so we can grow the channel, and that's the only way I can actually keep posting videos. And I'm actually pretty active as well, apart from YouTube, on Instagram, so if you want to see daily videos of my workouts and things like that, make sure to check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.